The most delicious, high-protein Korean popcorn chicken with sweet and sticky rice for under 500 calories and 50...
You don't actually need that. Here's what you really need, and that is a new set of diet rules. And I'm not talking about the toxic or restrictive type of rules that you're used to getting from Slimming World or Weight Watchers. I'm talking about flexible rules that allow you to eat foods you love whilst losing weight and never really feeling like you're on a diet. These are the kind of diet rules that you can stick to, lose more weight with, and ultimately feel like you're never really that far off track with your nutrition. Let me show you how. These are just a couple of the rules or mindset frames that we instill into our clients inside the Virtue Health community, and they've helped literally thousands of everyday CrossFit members drop 20 to 40 pounds of unwanted body fat, keep it off, and finally feel confident in the clothes they used to love. So let's talk about that first rule. You can eat whatever you like, but you have to account for it all. Now, this flies directly in the face of advice given to you by books like Ultra Processed People and the Weight Watchers sins that you're used to. But I personally love this rule for a number of reasons. Firstly, it allows you to keep all foods on the table when dieting, which is super important for your relationship with food. But also, it allows you to take responsibility for the foods that you're eating. And when you take responsibility and you really own your diet, you show up that little bit better than you would otherwise. Whilst I think that calling certain foods sins is absolutely fucking ridiculous, the crusade against sugar and processed foods and other types of oils and things like that is just absolutely confusing for most people trying to lose weight. Let me be clear, we should all be aiming for as much healthy, whole foods as we can inside our diet, because it's incredibly good for us and we generally feel a lot better and we feel fuller when we're eating whole foods. It's filling and you can usually make great recipes out of them. But you should not be developing an unhealthy relationship with certain foods, and if your diet or nutrition coach is encouraging you to do that, punch them in the face and run away immediately. The most important thing here is that no food should be off the table for you when it comes to dieting. You shouldn't feel guilty for eating a Mars bar every now and then. Yeah, you might want to limit your consumption of Mars bars if you're really trying to lose weight, but psychologically telling yourself that you can't eat that ironically makes you want that food more and makes you feel more guilty for that food when you do indulge yourself. And the second piece of advice that I want you to take into consideration is that imperfect action will always beat perfect inaction. Let me explain this in a little more detail. You could be 100% on with your diet for 2 weeks and then have one small instance and fall off the wagon. Or you could have 12 weeks with your diet where you're 80-90% consistent, you have 1 or 2 slip-ups here and there, but you just don't stop for 8 weeks. It might not look perfect, but you get it done. Which of those 2 outcomes do you think is more likely to produce weight loss results in the long run? There's only one obvious answer here. Another way that we like to think of this rule is that your diet is never over until you decide that it is. If you've overdone it a little bit at the weekend or you had too much to drink, that's often a good sign for you to give up. But what if you didn't? What if you showed up on Monday morning without the mindset of feeling like you're starting over again? Even better, let's picture this scenario. Imagine you get to Wednesday or Thursday and you feel your motivation drop a little bit. And then you have a couple of biscuits in the office. It is so easy to let that spiral into a weekend-long binge eating cycle where you just say f*** and go all out. But what if you didn't? What if you didn't actually ruin your diet in that one instance? What if that perfectionist mindset was just holding you to an unrealistic standard that frankly most people don't hold up and was just setting you up for failure in the first place? What if instead of giving yourself an easy out, you actually turned up the conviction? What if you actually logged those biscuits and decided, oh, I haven't gone over my calories today, I should just keep going with my diet? Or if you said, I'm not going to let this one slip up ruin the next 4 days of my diet. Telling yourself, okay, I haven't been perfect with my diet, but I'm gonna continue, is such a power move. You literally feel a sense of power, ownership, responsibility, and authority over yourself. And when you feel that way, you have power over your outcomes. This is literally the first thing we teach people when it comes to getting them unstuck with an old, trapped, rigid diet mindset. Problem is, it's so hard to think in 6 to 12 week cycles. Life gets in the way, your attention gets dragged between work and kids and other social commitments. You don't have a system for keeping yourself accountable through good times or bad for anything even close to 6 to 12 weeks, which by the way, for most people is roughly where they start to see results that keep the momentum going. It's really tough to see progress when you give up too early. The secret here is that most people aren't perfect with their nutrition. They just don't give up. But here's one last thing you need to know about losing weight. Failure is just a lesson. It's not a reason to quit. Again, this leads on from my last point, but I wanted to highlight one key distinction. one thing that you can take from this video and apply to yourself to lose weight immediately this week. And that is to look into the lessons every time you experience a failure. Every time you see someone in great shape or someone you know from school who's lost weight and you're thinking, how the have they done that and I still struggle? Just know that they were in the same position you were in once. Low on self-esteem, stuck going around in circles with their weight, unsure of where to go for help. Just know that that person failed over and over and over again. But instead of ignoring their failures, sweeping it under the rug and thinking, I'll start again tomorrow, they actually looked at their failures, they leaned into it, and they thought, there's something to be learned here. They asked themselves questions or they got help until they learned how to fix their eating habits. That's the difference between finally making progress with your weight loss goals and spinning around in circles forever dieting. Here are some questions you can ask yourself this week. What actually happened here? Was there a moment where I realized I let my standards slip? What was the actual trigger behind letting my standards slip? Is this just a lack of motivation or self-belief? If so, how do I address that and get it back next week? Do I need to set myself a bigger goal and a bigger challenge to raise my standards to meet this new identity? Is there anywhere I can fix this on my own, or do I need to ask for help? If so, where do I go for help? Sit down with a pen and paper for 5 to 10 minutes this week and start going through these questions. I guarantee it will illuminate some thoughts and solutions will start to show up. And if they don't, you know where to get help. If you genuinely feel stuck with your weight loss goals and nothing is working for you yet, send us an application on the link below. If you're a good fit for our program, we'll show you exactly how it works and how you can get started on your journey. See you next week.